Welcome back, everybody. We're out here taking shelter from the sun today. I'm trying to catch up on some maintenance for the tractor. Cracked open the owner's manual, and the original invoice for this tractor was in the pages here. And it got me to thinking, I think we should crunch some numbers and see if this tractor has paid for itself in the short while we've had it. So stay tuned and I'll walk you through the numbers. Here's the invoice I stumbled upon. As you can see, we bought this tractor 7/21/20, so we've had it just about 3 years now. Bought it from MB Tractor here near our home. They worked out real good. Told them what I wanted. I had it delivered within a couple weeks. So as you can see, we bought the tractor, the loader, the bucket, box scraper, rotary cutter, and pallet forks all at once. I probably wouldn't change anything if I did it again. Those are all kind of must-haves, in my opinion, for our use case. Let's see, we paid cash, and we got it for $26,500-ish. You've seen our other implements kicking around here. So all in all, you can round it up to about $30,000 just for big round numbers that we have into this tractor and the implements we use with it. So I've got some notes scribbled down to help me keep track of this all. But when we moved here, me and my wife had a very brief conversation about this. It's a lot of money, no doubt. But we talked about it. We talked about the need, how much money we thought we'd save versus sending checks to other people to take care of the property for us. And the first thing that came to mind was snow plowing. We live in New Hampshire, where there's a good 6 months out of the year where you can get plowable snow events. Our driveway is a half-mile long, and beyond the driveway, we keep other areas plowed up to the barn for keeping the animals safe. We keep a plowed path to the woods in case we need more wood during the winter. We can get to that with the truck or the tractor. Now, I do have a half-ton truck, but I don't want to beat the snot out of it. Plowing snow, not really made for that. So I figured this would be a good use for plowing snow. I figure we have about 20 plowable snow events each year, roughly 4 a month, once a week, something like that. And rough costs, I think I'm averaging, it'd be about $250 to pay somebody to come here every snowstorm and plow us neat and thorough like I need it plowed. So 20 storms times $250, that comes out to about $5,000 a year in savings that we're not spending out to somebody else. So $5,000 a year, snow plowing. All right, we're back here in our implement graveyard, just the spot where I dump all the implements behind the garage here. So the opposite of winter is summer. And about May through October, I say, we take care of grass here. We mow all the pasture behind us with the brush hog. We mow the sides of the driveway and keep all the trails in the woods cleaned up. If I didn't have the tractor and I didn't have the brush hog, I wouldn't be paying anybody to clean up my trails, I don't think, with the brush hog. So I think on average, if we estimate that we keep this mowed 2 times a month during those 4 months, so 8 mowings a year, which is relatively conservative for what I like to keep it neatened up at. And I think about the same cost is fair. I think it'd cost somebody $250, or cost me $250 to have somebody come out and spend half a day or whatever, however big their equipment was to get this mowed up. So $250 times 8, that ends up being $2,000 in savings that I wouldn't have to dish out every year to keep things mowed up the way we like them mowed. So those are the biggest expenses I can think of right off the top of my head. Plowing and brush hogging, those are what the tractor sees its most uses doing. But aside from that, we have a number of other useful things that it gets done around the farm. One of them is stump grinding. You saw in the previous video, we've got a PTO stump grinder on the back of there that I'm factoring into this $30,000 ballpark cost. Here's a stump right on the edge of my lawn. It could go away. I'm a little nervous because all this walls right around it, so stay tuned for a future video. I think I'm going to try and weasel this stump out of here, but we don't have any big land clearing projects underway right now. We have in the past, and that stump grinder proves invaluable for that type of stuff. So figure rough numbers to rent a stump grinder or have someone come rent a stump, probably at least $150 per stump. Say we do at least 10 stumps around the yard we're just trying to expand a year, so 150 times 10, that's another $1,500 I'm not paying out to somebody else. Obviously that'll taper off after a while, but at least our first few dozen years on this property, I think we're gonna hit that 10 stump average. We'll see. Okay, I found another stone wall as a backdrop. I've got a lot of stone walls around here. But the subject of this clip is behind me, the driveway. So our driveway is half a mile long. So that's pretty substantial. You can see about a quarter of it here. We're still right next to the garage. So 2 times a year at least, probably 2, I touch it up. I fix the potholes, regrade areas that need to get regraded, things like that. I use the tractor for that. But I'm lumping into this category what I'm calling dirt work and trail building. So driveway maintenance, trail building, dirt work. All things that the tractor is ideal for. And I'm a DIY guy, so if I didn't have the tractor, I'd probably rent a piece of equipment. Rent a tractor or a mini excavator. Probably not a mini excavator on the driveway, but I factor in about $350. That'll get me a day or a weekend rental, and I tackle a lot of those projects at once. So conservatively, I'm saying 4 projects a year. 2 for the driveway, 2 for dirt work. Whether I'm fixing drainage areas, making water run where I want it to run, or flattening out a spot to make this place more useful. And 4 is very conservative, like I said, but it'll probably peter out as the longer I'm here, the closer to perfect things are going to get, and the less projects we're going to tackle. But for right now, $350 times 4, that's about $1,400 a year in savings. I'm not dishing out to somebody else because we have the tractor. So here's one that's tough to quantify. It's tough for a couple reasons. One, nothing brings me much more joy than seeing a nice neat stack of firewood like this drying, but all this wood got here using that tractor. We get all of our firewood from the property. We've got enough acreage where we can source all the hardwood we need to heat our home for the winter. We heat almost exclusively with firewood for the whole house. And yeah, we get it from the property. If I don't have a 4-wheeler or a side-by-side, like I said, I've got a pickup truck, but I would destroy it pretty quickly trying to get back into the woods to get the firewood out. So I'm saying that tractor is the only reason we're able to harvest all of our own firewood from the property. Besides being super rewarding, I think it's efficient too. So around here, right now in 2023, I think it's going to be about $1,000 to get a triaxle load of firewood delivered. That's the most equal thing I can think of. They'd put it anywhere in this field I wanted, and we could process it ourselves like we do with our wood here. So $1,000, and that gets about 8 cords. And coincidentally, we like to have about 8 cords on hand for the winter. We'll burn anywhere between, I don't know, 5 and 9 depending on the winter. Usually averages around 6 to 8 cords a winter. So I'm gonna factor in about $1,000 a year it saves me having this tractor to get the wood out of the woods and stacked and drying. So that firewood thing seems like a good spot to stop and talk about ongoing maintenance costs for this thing. I'm saying average about $30,000 all in, but there's upkeep involved. So we had this about 3 years, and the upkeep really is minimal. You use quite a bit of grease, keeping it greased up. But this, like I said, 3 years old, has 230 hours. So all the stuff we talk about, all the stuff we do, it only has 230 hours on it. So we change the oil every year, not at the hour intervals that it suggests. We'll never exceed that hour interval that the manual suggests. So oil change every year, not that expensive. Changing out the hydraulic fluid is more expensive, but you don't have to do that very frequently at all. So really, there's not a lot to it. Take good care of it. Spend a little bit of time in the garage with it, looking it over before you get out here. And those maintenance costs are really minimal. And this thing sips fuel. It really doesn't use much fuel at all. We use off-road diesel in it most all the time. So yeah, fuel, it's pennies in the grand scheme of things anyways. That's probably all we're going to talk about money saving wise, but the last thing I want to touch on is wear and tear on your body. So managing a big property, it's a lot of work obviously if you want to do it well and keep things looking neat. Here you just saw me turn that compost pile. This is a real rough compost pile that we dump chicken manure and whatnot, and all our kitchen scraps go in here, and the chickens flatten it out for us, so I like to heap it back up. It's a pretty shallow pile right now because it's springtime, or summer now I guess, and we filled the gardens with it pretty recently. But to do that by hand might have made my back hurt a little bit, and it would have taken 10 times as long. So easy use for the tractor, tough to put a cost on it. I wouldn't hire anybody to come turn this pile for me, but but all kinds of things, lifting heavy things. We've got the pallet forks, bucket, we can move boulders, bags of grain, whatever we need to. Saves our backs. We have wheelbarrows, but things are pretty spread out around here and it would take a long time. Time's valuable. I like spending time with my family. Whole family doesn't always want to be up here and up way back in the woods with me, so tractor is great for that. Reaching high things, we've got a hay loft. We can break out the ladder and get up and down out of there if we had to, but it's a lot easier to put something in the bucket, lift it up to the hay loft, and then be up top and just grab it out of there. So things like that. I'm relatively young. I'm in my mid-30s, and I'm relatively healthy. If neither of those things were true, this part would be way more important to me. If I was older, which I'm gonna get older if I live long enough, and if my body was in worse shape, which it probably will eventually, the tractor would have a huge benefit there. But right now, great enjoyment, saving the wear and tear on our body, ultimately giving us more time for the things we like to do, spending time with family. And then the last thing, also priceless, tough to put a cost on, is the joy. I have 3 young children. One of them's not so young, but to see my 1-year-old light up every time he sees the tractor, he can't go in the garage without climbing all over it. That's kind of priceless. Kids, you can give them enjoyment much cheaper ways, but that's a memory that they're gonna have. And like I said, this only has 230 hours on it. I'm 34, so unless I sell it, I'm very confident it's still going to be around and kicking in 30 years because I like to take care of things. So one day my kids might have the tractor. So it was $30,000, but is that really that much in the grand scheme of things? All right, so if you were following along and I didn't mess up my math too bad, maybe I did, but really these are just feel-good numbers based on estimates and what I think things cost today and what I paid for the tractor. Obviously, if you get a cheaper tractor, it should pay for itself quicker if you're doing the same amount of work. If you get a more expensive tractor and do the same amount of work, it's going to take a little longer to pay for itself. But the numbers I just rattled off were, I think we save $5,000 a year snow plowing. I think we save $2,000 a year brush hogging, $1,500 a year stump grinding, $1,400 a year doing dirt work, driveway maintenance, and trail building. Firewood, again, a tough one, but I factored in at just $1,000. I think that's too low, but say we save $1,000 a year with firewood. And the last one was wear and tear on my body and enjoyment. No dollar value there, but pretty much priceless. So if you add those numbers up, you get $10,900 a year in savings. So I'm fairly certain I would need to fork those dollars out to somebody else to do the work that we want to have done on our property to make it look the way we want it to look, when we want it to look that way. So $10,900, this tractor will have paid for itself in 3 years, maybe a little quicker, maybe a little longer. But that's just something to think about. If you're going to buy a property of comparable size, comparable tasks you want to accomplish, and you're going to stay there for more than 3 to 5 years, it probably very well makes sense for you to buy a compact tractor like this Kubota L2501. If I was way off base on some of these numbers, please feel free to chime in the comments. I appreciate you being subscribed. Thanks for following along. That was a relatively easy video for me. So take care, and we'll see you on the next one.